Mitch Hooper had a disaster at the 2025 World's Strongest Man, and we're going to break it down and analyze exactly what went wrong and actually how close he was to still winning the whole thing. So, looking at these scores from the World's Strongest Man 2025, if you don't know by now, too bad, it's been out forever. Ray O'Neill, the 2025 World's Strongest Man, first ever South African, first ever African World's Strongest Man, wins by a half point over Tom Stoltman, who was 3 points ahead of Mitch Hooper. And then we have a much bigger gap going from there. So what I want to break down is what happened. What happened to Mitch Hooper? Mitch Hooper, this was the worst performance that he has had, full of mistakes and errors and shortcomings. But this is so unusual. This guy is not just super strong, super technically savvy, but he has all those little intangibles in all of these competitions that make him the machine that he is. So we're going to kind of analyze, starting with understanding these points at the very beginning and kind of break things down event by event by event. So just remember this. We'll keep talking about it. Ray O'Neill wins with 47, half point ahead of Tom Stoltman, and 3 points ahead of Mitch Hooper. So we're going to start all the way at the beginning. Now, this year in the World's Strongest Man, the qualifying heats actually counted for something. So normally, right, they totally reset and, everybody starts from zero. But they were all scored against each other, and Hooper actually comes into this in first place. He had the best qualifying round with Tom Stoltman in second and Ray O'Neill in third. So Hooper starts the finals with a lead. We start this off with the knack hoist and carry medley. Super cool. And when I'm talking about these little details that Hooper always seems to have locked in, one of the things I want to show you from the start is, like, look how good he is at getting the command and the start down. I mean, he is just nice and tight and ready to go as soon as the whistle goes. So it's little things like that, again, when seconds really matter, that you need to implement and take advantage of. So ready? Hold on. Watch. He timed that so perfectly where he got that dip going. He's probably looking at the ref's face when he took an inhale ready to blow into the whistle to sync his dip and pick up. So he started perfectly, but, there's little things here where, let's watch it one more time. He's clearly looking at the ref for that. But watch on his way back. He just picks it up just a little sideways. So you can see the frames themselves are actually like slightly off center. And that's something there where if he's going perfectly straight, that could save a second or two in this event. Good run back. He is back first to the pull. Now, it's going to be tough to beat Tom Stoltman on this because of Stoltman's length, right? He's just got so much more room to pull on this. But, spoiler alert, Stoltman still wins this event by 1 second. So if we are starting to add our points up, remember he finishes 3 points behind Tom Stoltman at the final. This alone, 1 second of difference, if he doesn't turn to the side and picks up his Zercher yoke straight, he already is gaining back 1 point. And this is something with just like focus, right? It's very easy and natural to like lose your focus and not pay attention all the way, but Hooper doesn't do this. So I just want to like point out like something was off with him, and we'll kind of break down a little more why as we keep going. So if things were switched, he had 1 second faster, he picked it up perfectly even, was totally dialed in. Then we go to Mitch 44.5, Stoltman 45.5. So we have that gap already shortened quite a bit. Now here's the really interesting one, and actually if we forget everything else that happens in this event, if we just focus on the 18-inch deadlift, if Mitch Hooper comes in first or ties for second, or whatever, he ties for first with Trey Mitchell, if he comes in first outright, ties for first, or comes in second, guess what? He wins the entire show. Forget about everything else, and I'll give you the points for that in a second. But Hooper, in training, doubled 505 kilos. That would have won this event. He probably could have done more on his A game, but he fails here. What was that? He was going for 1,080. So that's, it's not even 500 kilos. 500 kilos is 1,102. So that's still about 15 kilos below that. He failed. He couldn't even budge it barely. So what's going on here? Well, first, let's just talk about, again, points. Theoretical. Rain O'Neill, as it stood, won World's Strongest Man with 47 points. Now, Hooper gets a win in this event, then he would have gained 4 points. That would have instantly vaulted him to 47 and a half points. That would have taken him to the lead out the gate. If he ties with Trey Mitchell, no, I'm sorry, step back, right? If he wins, he gets 48 and a half points. If he wins his deadlift, he wins. Game over. Rain O'Neill finishes in second, okay? If he gets second place, he would have gotten 47 and a half. He would have tied with Rain O'Neill if he got second place here. Or if he splits and ties for first with Trey Mitchell, he gets 48 points. He still wins, okay? So just this alone is showing us something's off here and just like how important it is to execute well at every event, especially events that are in your wheelhouse. So when you're looking at this entire field, Trey Mitchell and Mitch Hooper are the two best deadlifters in this entire field. It's not even close. They are the top two. The only person out there right now that's got a better deadlift in the strongman world is Halfthor, and then it is Hooper and Mitch. Hooper and Mitchell, right? Mitch Hooper, Trey Mitchell, blah, 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 blah. Anyways, all right, so what's going on? How come Mitch Hooper can deadlift 505 for 2 in training, and then he can't even budge, what was that, like 480, 485, past his knees? Like that's a pretty piss poor performance, like relative to him. And he only got 465 kilos as a successful lift. I mean, that's, 8% lower than what he was doing for a double in training. So why does he show up only 92% when you know for sure with certainty he knows how to peak, he knows how to prepare, he knows how to acclimate his body to perform on game day? Well, the Hercules hold is really what kind of reveals the answer to that. And the reason is the Hercules hold is so grip dominant. And I want you to pay attention first to Eddie Williams, right? And you can just see it in the face, right? Like he's even got like a little smirk on. He's cool. He's calm. He's collected. And this is now directly showing the state of somebody's nervous system, right? So when you are in a weakened performance, so like Mitch Hooper, he could do 92% of what he normally does, but could not show up at 100% despite probably the right peaking program, the right foods, the right supplements. He very quickly goes into hyperventilation mode. They just show it for a second here on the final, but look at this. Look at his face. He's grimacing. He never does that, right? Super red face, breathing like crazy. He's straining real hard, and he's got a pretty low performance, 5th place. Not good for him. This is somebody who has won the Hercules hold at Giants Live by a pretty good bit. This is somebody who has won the Wrecking Ball hold. Maybe I think even has the record at Giants Live. Now those, not the same event, but it's still very grip dominant. But the thing that really matters on each of these is what state your nervous system is in, because you have to have the ability to be in this, call it flow state, where you have a certain level of arousal, but it's not overstimulated and you dump into, things that fatigue real quick. Because what happens when your nervous system is running too hot, and this has been tested over and over and over again, proven scientifically, is that your grip strength is the first thing that goes when your nervous system is cooked and running hot. So that would also explain why he did so poorly at the deadlift, why you might not be focusing. This is all, mind-body connected. When you are not totally zoned in and peaked correctly with your nervous system, you are distracted and you might make little mistakes here and there, but you are also unable to physically perform in certain instances. You cannot have peak power output. You cannot have the same level of composure because your body's running hot. It's just heartbeat, boom, 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 boom. You're going to start breathing faster. So these things all, start building and compound onto each other and get even worse. Now, we all know that Hooper at this time, this is when there was a lot of personal drama with him bubbling up, like right at the time that Worlds was going on. And it doesn't really matter, what that was all about. But what does matter is that it's very obvious that this was affecting him on a very, very big level, because you can just see it through some of these things in this performance. Like, we're now at a place where if Hooper wins the 18-inch deadlift, if Hooper goes from 5th to 1st in the Hercules hold, game over, right? You know, he was 3.5 points behind Rain O'Neill for winning the whole entire thing. And it just goes to show you that little mistakes can add up really, really, really big. And if you are somebody that wants to do well in strongman and perform to the best, whether it's, you know, qualifying for something or making the podium, being a finalist at this or that, like, it doesn't matter. You need to be in the right mental zone to do your best on all these little intangibles, to make sure your grip doesn't go early, to make sure your mind is in the right place, to make sure your body is able to lift at its peak max capabilities. So when you are planning your training programs out or you're working with your coach, it is very, very, very important that you are taking care of your nervous system so that you show up ready to perform mind and body all the way. So when there's events like a hold, you can downshift, calm yourself, and be in that right level. But when it's time to ramp up, maybe for like a max deadlift, right, then you need to be able to like ramp up, or, you know, just put out that max power output. It all comes back to the nervous system. So moving on, we got to go into the Flintstone barbell next. And now this should have been an absolute banger event for Mitch once again, because Mitch Hooper does indeed hold the world record for the axle clean and press. So this is an event that really benefits a push jerker, right? So Mitch Hooper push jerks the axle. He can do this on all sorts of things. But when we're going here, he does indeed get third. So this was still pretty good performance. He misses this one. I don't know what the weight is. I don't have that written in front of me. But whatever. He finishes in third place. This is just like another thing where, let's say he gets second, then he makes up a point on Stoltman. So it's just all of these opportunities where you combine one here, one there. You know, we're looking at a completely different narrative of the story. And a lot of people want to talk about, right, the legacy of these people, who's the GOAT, who's the best of all time. A couple shortcomings here prevented Mitch from vaulting himself even further ahead to, you know, being a clear runaway winner for like Mount Rushmore of strongman, or whatever you want to call it. This video is not about who's the best, but you see the point. So last point, again, we're talking about like focus, power, you know, your mental state. Like a split jerk is a really good example of all those things at once, because to have an elite world-class split jerk, you have to be very technically proficient. You have to be strong as all hell. And you have to focus to make sure that you put those two pieces together. So back to this thing about like taking care of your nervous system. When it's not there, you need to be firing on all cylinders. If one little thing is off, or if you're at 95%, right? Or even it probably honestly looks like Hooper's at 90 to 92%. That's not good enough if you want to be the best. So moving along, finally, the Stones. I think it was Tim Buck who was live streaming this on Instagram while we were all watching and checking the spreadsheets. But we all knew it was going to come down to the last event. So obviously Tom Stolman's going to win Stones. He's a legend at this. But talking about small mistakes, focus, strength, composure. Watch what happens here on the very first stone. Mitch Hooper right here. Bobble. That never happens. That's got to be the only time that he has ever done that. And now what ends up happening here is that it comes down to, can Rain O'Neill do 4 stones fast enough to get the points necessary? Now, just a separate note, I love watching this. This is super cool. Watch how Trey Mitchell gets to his lap and knocks the rain off. Just cool, good composure, good presence. But it comes down to whether or not Tom Stoltman at this point became the world's strongest man. Did Rain O'Neill do his 4 stones faster than Mitch Hooper? And again, talking about like how little things make a huge difference. If Mitch Hooper doesn't bobble that 4th stone, or the first stone, game over. Tom Stolman's new world's strongest man, or world's strongest man again, rather. And he's on his 4th world's strongest man, which again, this just like changes the whole landscape of all of strongman entirely. Now, Mitch Hooper almost always finishes stone runs. You know, whether it's Rogue, Giants Live, when he's done it, it's just so uncharacteristic. You know, so now we're getting into deeper things where we're looking at like not just like strength, focus, composure, but endurance, right? Like even with that bobble, he probably should have still finished stone number 5. But, you know, when you're running on fumes and your system is absolutely cooked, you're just not going to be able to put the right performance together. So what is this all about? I've kind of been talking about it over and over and over again, but let me tell you, first off, this is not a Mitch Hooper hate video in whatsoever. I love watching Mitch Hooper. The guy is such an unbelievable competitor. I mean, not only is he super strong and has great, you know, technique for his body and what he does, but he just has all those little pieces that make a really, really good competitor. All those little like savvy, intangible things like, you know, just being tight and prepared at the exact right moment on that yoke, Zercher yoke pickup is one example of it. And I think based on this, he's not letting this happen again. He's coming back complete full force and should absolutely obliterate World's Strongest Man 2026. Now, this does not take anything away from Reno or Tom or anything because, right, we could like go down the list and we could analyze everybody's performance and talk about like what they did right, what they did wrong. And what we need to understand is Reno Nell just about did everything right at this competition. And that is why he won World's Strongest Man. Now, of course, you know, he is a great world-class strongman. He is definitely deserving to be there, but this happens at any competition. One person makes one mistake here, this person vaults up and they win. So that's going to be applicable to you at any time. So what you have to do to be the best possible competitor you can be is eliminate mistakes and make sure that you are composed through mind, body, soul, and your nervous system in the way that allows you to put out all of that strength, power, conditioning, and endurance that you've been working really, really hard on, and then show up on game day with the right focus and composure to display it to the highest level without those mistakes. And if you do that, that's all there is to it, right? If you can go in with the confidence and the absolute knowing that you have done all you can and you are here in this moment ready to bring your absolute best, you've got nothing to lose. And you might even finish on top. So if you want to learn a little bit more about all of these like extracurriculars and exactly how to do this, how to be mistake-free, how to master your nervous system so that you can be the absolute best, most successful version of yourself in strength, check out clubstrongman.com. There's a link in the bio. It is my free private community. So I'd love to see you in there. But if you like this video, let me know what you think. Drop a comment or at least hit like, hit subscribe, whatever. Appreciate you watching. Thank you for your time. Have a championship day.